So today we are talking about your film Fried Berry. Without giving any type of spoilers, um, what is this movie overall about?
Uh, well, the synopsis of the movie, I don't think it's a type of film that you can give away too much of. To be honest, it's basically about a heroin addict that gets abducted by aliens, and he gets spat back out, and the alien is controlling his body, and Bastard Barry is taking a back seat while this alien tourist discovers Cape Town, the darker side of Cape Town, and just takes his body on a joyride.
Yeah, like it definitely looks like a interesting and kind of a different film, as you were saying. Were, were there any like was this a inspiration based on other films or like a personal inspiration?
Well, originally, what happened was I shot a short film in 2017. It was a short experimental film. It was only 3 minutes long, also called Fry Barry, also starring Gary Green. And it was just a 3 minute experimental. There was never any plan to ever make a feature film. And it was just one of those things where the short did really well. It went to like 60 festivals like around the world. We picked up like 13 awards, and we started getting all this random fan art from like all over the world. So I kind of knew that I was onto something, but I still looked at it as a standalone, short film. And the thing is, with the short experimental, there was no story in it. It was literally about a drug addict in an abandoned building on his latest heroin trip with his highs and his lows, and that was it. It was almost like, it was almost like a drug PSA, like don't do fucking drugs. That's basically what it was about. And during that time, after making that short film, where I was in my career and my personal life, for the past, good few years before I shot Fry Barry the feature, I've come close many times, to make a movie, and then something always happens, and then it drifts away, and it doesn't happen. That's happened to me probably about 5 or 6 times. And so where I was at the time, um, I basically I went through like a really rough time. I had something wrong with my kidney. I had an operation. I got sepsis. I nearly died. I went through a breakup. My cat had cancer, and I just hit depression, and I went down this dark hole. So the inspiration for me was, when I was in this dark hole, I was just like, what is the number one thing that I've always wanted to do? What is at the top of my list? And it was to make a movie. And then I got the idea, and it just came to me. And I would say I wrote a 50% scene breakdown, and I wrote about 6 pieces of dialogue. And there was no script apart from the dialogue, but it was a scene breakdown where it was just like, Barry goes here, Barry does this. And the rest of the movie, we shot over a year and a half. We shot 28 days, and majority of the movie was like 90% of the movie was improv, apart from working with Gary, because he's not a trained actor. So there is a lot of, that was my main like influence to like, to for where I was to make this film. But within the film itself, I mean, there's so many 80s references, whether it's like Terminator or Aliens or ET or Explorers, or even like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like 70s vibe, Close Encounters. So there's a lot of like 80s like references within the movie.
Oh, nice. Um, as you mentioned, this was originally a short, and you've done like a handful of like shorts
Yeah.
prior to this. So what got you into directing?
It's just something that I've always wanted to do, because I mean, I started acting first, and then I went into directing. But the household that I grew up in, my dad loved movies. So by the time it came to like the early 90s, I already seen most films from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So, it was just, I was that kid watching all those movies with my dad, or, going to the video shop and spending hours in there constantly, renting movies out. So I think from that, I've always had an interest in, in the film industry, whether it was acting or directing. And living in England, I grew up in England. So living in England, when I first started out, I started, my childhood was very much like Super 8, that movie. I'd go out with my friends on the weekend or on the summer holidays, and we would go shoot, all these crappy short films, over the summer and stuff like that. And then, when I started working as an actor, it was like really far apart. And then, it got to that point where your mom and dad's like, maybe you should do something else, just in case it doesn't work out. I'm like, yeah, but it's going to work out. And they're like, yeah, but just in case. And then I was just like, oh, fuck, I know, I'll do directing. And they were like, oh, fuck, we meant something completely different, not in the film industry. And then I just started to pursue directing more. And yeah, and I think just things grew from there. And I ended up moving to South Africa, where I work regularly as an actor and a director. So it was just a good move to get regular work. And South African, so I've always been back and forth, my whole life.
All right. Cool. So speaking of that, kind of how is the South African horror scene? Is there much of a horror scene out there, or is it more just like?
Yeah, well, I mean, there has been a few films that have been made, but I wouldn't. It's more recently than ever, I would say. But you see, our industry in South Africa it's still very small. So, and it's been growing more and more over the past 6 years, like dramatically, but it's still pretty small. We're more of a service country. So we have, TV and film for, that come overseas, come from overseas to come shoot here. Because I guess we've got so many locations that look like this, look like that, and it's cheaper to shoot here. But for the South African industry, it's for films that they normally make. It's literally normally, they do, we do comedies, we do dramas, we do some thrillers, and that's kind of, and like historic movies about apartheid and townships and stuff like that. And that's kind of all we ever make here. So Fry Barry is literally definitely like the first of its kind to come out of South Africa, without a doubt. It's literally broken like all the rules in South African like cinema, what gets accepted here and stuff. I mean, I've struggled my whole career to do my style, over here. So I'm known as a music video director here. So I can do what I want with music videos, but I'm kind of still in a box, in a sense of I still have to know that this film's going to know that the band, has to suit the music for the band. So I've always kind of still been in a box. So with this film, it's literally like, fuck, I'm just going to do what I want. I had no studio behind me. So it was me, it was me and my producer. We only had each other to answer to. So we got to do, anything that we wanted to do. And it is quite out there. It is quite graphic. And yeah, so it's been a fun thing for us to break that mold in the South African cinema and just do the complete opposite from what normally gets made here. But I knew all along, for like overseas and stuff like that, you guys would love, more this type of film than, the normal South African audience. But at the same time, as a filmmaker, we got to make these different films so other films like this can get made here,
Very cool. Yeah, because again, the film looks very interesting. I've seen the trailer a couple times. And for you listeners, you can find it on YouTube or even on our Instagram page. It's posted up on there. Now, when can people maybe expect to see this movie? Like a streaming date or like a physical release date? Do you know yet,
yeah.
or is? Yeah.
Well, at the moment now, from now, I mean, over the past few months now, it's just hitting all the like major festivals around the world. So we're Fry Barry's only going to be released next year on online platforms, and from now to the end of the year, it's going to be it's playing in Germany and Portugal, Austria, France. We're obviously playing it here in a few festivals in South Africa. It is going to play in the US at the Mile High Horror Film Festival on from September 24th to the October 4th. So that'll be online, so anybody in the States can actually go watch the film online.
Cool. Yeah, because that's my next question. With this current COVID pandemic going on, has it affected the film at all, or is it just more
No,
just
yeah, it's actually interesting because I mean I didn't know this. At the end of the day, this is my first film, and we
yeah,
just played at Fantasia, and Fantasia is basically one of the biggest genre film festivals in the world. And obviously, I really wanted to go to that, but this year it was online, and most festivals are online. I think there's a few. I think there's a lot of festivals in Europe that's actually doing the physical festival, but it's actually kind of been a blessing in disguise. It's been quite crazy because when you have these film festivals, you're looking at maybe 250 to 300 people per screening that will normally watch your film at the festival. And then now with this pandemic in different countries, it's there's different rules. So maybe there's only like over here we can only have 50 people in the cinema, and so it's actually less people watching it at the cinemas during this pandemic time. But even let's say it's 250 to 300 people at a normal screening, so because it's online, I mean, when we played at Fantaspoa in Brazil, which we picked up best, we had 4,000 people watch the movie, and basically the same with Macabro in Mexico. So yeah, I mean, it's actually been so much better because there's more people that can watch your film. And at the end of the day, you make a film and you want people to watch it. So for hitting 4,000 people at one festival is absolutely amazing, and the feedback and these people talking about it has just been great. And it's been the same with all the other online festivals and Fantasia and stuff like that. So the response and the amount of people that are actually watching it, that could fill like at least like 10 cinemas or more, cinema screens or more. So that it's actually been really good. And I think in the future, I think film festivals should actually do a physical festival and do an online festival, because I mean there's nothing better than going to the actual physical festival, but at the same time you still can't watch all the films because there's like so many films. So, and there's some people that can't make it all the way to where the festival is. So it's even good that you can have the physical festival and you can have the online festival. So if you don't catch all the movies or you can't get there, you can actually watch it online, which I think it's a new thing that everybody's gonna, all these festivals. At the end of the day, I think the festivals will probably actually make more money from that as well.
yeah, probably so. Because I mean, I live in kind of a bigger city in the U.S., but still, we don't have that many festivals here. But in recent times, I can get access to these various festivals in like di- uh, different states and in different countries, which I didn't have access to prior without like either driving or like flying somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good way. So switching gears a little bit here, we are a horror podcast, so I would like to know some of your personal favorite horror movies.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think it would. I mean, I love The Thing, John Carpenter. I love Christine. Um, I love The Fly. I mean, even I mean, it's a little bit more sci-fi, but even like Aliens, I know the first one's more like a horror, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think it would probably be like Christine or The Thing. I think that'll be like right. I think it'll be like right up there.
cool. Yeah, those are
But
both those good
sorry, go on,
movies.
man.
Now, I was saying, yeah, those are both like great Carpenter films.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say that I think the thing with yeah, I mean, I love all genres, but I mean, I'm a big horror fan. I love, more than anything, I love my 80s, my 80s horror and 80s films. I think for me, like that's always been like a big thing and a big inspiration of like 80s cinema and 80s, horror films.
Any directors you kind of get influenced by, or like kind of like sparked your inspiration for any?
Um, I think definitely John Carpenter, definitely David Cronenberg or David Lynch. Um, and I mean, I love Spielberg's, 80s films as well. So yeah, I think it'll be those guys that probably inspire me a lot, and the work and the body of work that they've done, especially again in the 80s.
Great choices. Now, this might be kind of a well related question. What's your favorite Lynch movie? I'm a big Lynch fan, so well, I guess that
Ooh, fuck, dude. I don't know. That's a really hard one.
great films.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've watched Eraserhead so many times, but I mean even Twin Peaks. I think that will probably come in on top with his his work.
Yeah, great choice. Love the series, love the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's always good. It's always good to go revisit it. Here and there again, like I do with most '80s films. You always. I think I probably watch more old films than new films in a sense of I mean, I always watch all the new films, but you tend to go back to the old films that you've seen it a million times, but you'll go back to it and you'll watch it again and again because you just know it's good. I think people are more disappointed these days with certain films that you watch and you go, oh fuck, that wasn't good, or I won't watch that again. So I think with the comfort of your own home, you'll always go back to certain films, or if you watch Evil Dead, the Evil Dead films, and you'll just watch it again and again, and it's still fucking good.
Oh yeah. Um, I think like that there has been this whole like thing about current movies are made for almost like a one-time theater watch, but then for at home viewing, it just kind of loses the magic some of
Yeah, no,
like the
definitely.
old.
Yeah, I think more. I mean, it's very rare these days that you watch a film and you go, "That was fucking great." You used to say that a lot more back in the day, and now I think there's just so much films that they just shit out now, like constantly. It's like a money game, and it's just they're just throwing films out there, and it's a lot easier to make films than it was like 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So I think there's just too much content, and I mean, it's very rare that I'll go fucking hell. That's an amazing film. It only really happens every now and then. I mean, I think a lot of people, we sit there, we can watch Netflix, and you watch 5, 10, 20 minutes of a film, or finish the film, and you just go, that was shit. I'll never watch that again, and it's not worth it in even a conversation to talk about that film. So yeah, and we live in the generation of remakes and other
Oh,
films just copying and other films that was like, let's say it was based in the desert, and now it's in the ice or whatever. It's just we live in that where everything's just getting reproduced like the whole time, and that's the thing with Fry Barry. I just wanted to make something just whacking crazy and do a different structure and style to something that it's the type of film that you'll either love or you hate. And the people that love it will love it, and the people that will hate it will hate it. And that's good. And that's also okay that